Like I was telling you, Julie, this is the Eliminate the Stigma documentary, right? And what we're trying to accomplish here is number one, we're trying to raise awareness. We're trying to offer different individuals an opportunity to share their story and their perspective with the disease of addiction. And ultimately, we're trying to eliminate the stigma that is associated with the disease of addiction. So today we're sitting down with Julie and Domingo Lopez from Pottstown, Pennsylvania. And today we're going to be speaking about your daughter, Nadia, correct? So I guess I'll just get right into it. Tell us a little about Nadia. Tell us a little about your daughter. How was she growing up?
Well, she was born in Germany, in Schwäbisch Hall, Germany, in a German hospital. And Nadia's name means hope. So I just want to say that. She was a very lively child, lots of energy, very creative and imaginative. I remember when she would play with the neighbor kids when she was a little older than some of the neighbor kids, and she would make a huge mess, but the kids had such a blast. And their mother would say to me, "I love it when Nadia comes because my kids, they get so creative, but it's such a mess when they leave, And she did things fully. And so she was, in her younger days, she was just very creative, happy, energetic, full of life. She had friends, and she enjoyed school. She enjoyed the beach. She enjoyed spending time with her family, her cousins on both sides. She loved going to Puerto Rico when we would visit family there. She loved visiting family up in New York State. We would have a big family kind of reunion over Memorial Day weekend. That was always something she looked forward to. We would do a big, huge family vacation in the summer, and she loved that, being with all her cousins. And so family was very important to Nadia for a long time.
Okay. So growing up as a child for Nadia, did you, even in her younger years, did you ever notice anything as a kid that would make either of you believe that she would eventually end up struggling with addiction?
No.
No, nothing.
She was part of the program there. So she understood a lot about that. And so she was kind of involved a lot with
she had the basic education
Yes.
about, what they teach children in school, the DARE program and stuff like that. I was taught when I was a kid back in the 70s, my grandfather, my mother's father, was an alcoholic. And my mom did tell me that addiction or alcoholism is genetic. And she told me to always be careful, She's like, and she would say, that's why she would only have one glass of wine with dinner maybe once a week, or if that, when I was growing up. And so I shared that information. We've shared that information with Nadia. I said, so we always have to be extra careful. But we think that this could happen to her? Not in our wildest dreams.
Okay. And I guess when to your knowledge as parents, when do you believe that you first started noticing things that were off, or when do you believe that this started for her?
I had some suspicions, maybe light suspicions when she was in high school, but it's so hard for us to determine that because of how unhappy she was in school, she was very emotional about how she was treated at school.
Why was she unhappy in school?
Because she wasn't included. She went to the parochial through the parochial school system in this area. She didn't start until 3rd grade, so they didn't know her from the very beginning. And it's a small class, and they were already probably connected. But she made really one close friend out of the whole class. Now, there were some kids that were friendly to her. I won't call them her friends, but they were friendly to her. But they didn't include her. And she had a huge desire, you know, to be loved and to be wanted and to be included by her peers. So it affected her a lot when she was home, and it affected our relationship. Because I was always trying to find a way, what's going to make Nadia happy, you know. And I had meetings, you know, with the school and the principal, and you know, things were tried, but nothing worked. And I think I'm not going to blame the school, but I am going to say that when it comes to the bullying or harassing or however you want to label it, I think in her case, it was constant harassment.
They call the names.
We don't know how to address this situation. We don't know how to resolve this. I did lunch yard duty when she was younger, and I watched it myself when I would stand out in the parking lot and the kids were running around and playing. She was with her one friend, and sometimes the boys would let them join in a little bit. The girls would be in a circle, and she'd go over and they'd close the circle tighter.
Do you think, not to interrupt you, do you think this contributed in some way to?
Yes.
Okay.
100%.
Yes. 100%.
You can't tell me that it didn't, because it taught her to think low of herself.
Yes, it kind of brought her self-esteem down. You know, they call in names, you know.
And some were racial.
Yes.
You know, Planet of the Apes because you have hair on your arms.
Call them dirty Mexican. And
this is written in her journal that
yes.
she wrote while she was away at treatment. And it still affected her. So to read it, and she had told us, and then to read it and to see that at 26, this still was cutting her that deep, and these things maybe happened to her in 6th or 7th grade, 8th grade, somewhere in there. People don't understand that words really hurt. You know, I grew up hearing sticks and stones may break your bones, but names can never hurt. And that's the biggest line of bullshit I've ever heard.
I couldn't agree more with you. So if we move forward just a little bit, right, to when you guys found out, like when you, no more suspicions, now you have confirmed that there is something, like she's using something. How did you guys respond to that?
We were going to have an intervention, but it fell through. This was in the summer of
2018. Yeah.
Summer of 2018. We didn't really know what to do. That was the sad thing. I was terrified.
Yes.
And ashamed because I felt guilty. I felt like I did something wrong.
And personally, I felt that I failed as a father. We were close. Nadia and I were close. And it's tough when you see something that you know is wrong, but you don't have education. You don't have programs of anything that can tell you, come in here and we'll help you deal with this. Nothing. I mean, to my knowledge, it was nothing. You know, my experience in the military helped me a little bit, but not to the extreme of dealing with what I had in hands. She was sick. she needed help.
And we were afraid too. We operated out of fear and lack of knowledge.
Yeah.
And so much has changed. You know, when you were in the Army, fentanyl, you didn't have to deal with fentanyl.
I mean, you
And
know, the
some of
worst
these-
thing, the worst thing that I think my generation had to deal with was marijuana. You know, alcohol, drink. I can tell you from my side of is alcohol. In my side of the family, like some of Julie's, I got alcoholics, and some of them died because of that disease or alcoholism. I didn't smoke. I never smoked. I tried it. Then I saw a movie about cancer, and that was it. A drink socially, maybe, but it's not a habit. So seeing my daughter start going to this, and when she started using other stuff, you know, with needles, then we were late.
Backtracking a little bit, I heard you mention something. So can you tell me, why do you feel like you failed her as a father? Or why did you feel that way, I should say?
Because I wasn't here all the time.
He, you know, with the Army, you know, duty calls, you know, and then working at Boeing, he was still working very closely with the military. That was his line of work.
It was tough. It's
and he traveled a lot and
and
did
you
a
know,
year in Iraq. So
and you know,
Yeah.
it had brought a lot of feelings that I thought at one time they had under control. You know, I got PTSD, no doubt about it, from the military. I do, you know, but I have it under control till I start going through Nadia, and then that brought him back up, and then you start feeling all this other stuff. It's a tough situation, and then you think that you're alone, okay? Fighting this disease, this war, you think you're alone. Then I realized that I wasn't alone. Friends of mine had gone through the same situation. Watched their kid die. I just can't believe we as a country sometimes we do things, we always trying to go protect the needed and you know, people that need and all that stuff. But we never look ourselves. You know what I mean? We got homeless. We got the addiction problems. We got the racial problems. You know, we shouldn't have this in this country. We should be taking care of us, help us, and then we can help others. But, you know, and then what I see is people you look at you different. If you got a friend, a kid, you know, a son, a daughter, this an addiction. They look at you different. Now you all of a sudden on the outside looking in. It shouldn't have been there. There should be trying to bring you in to help you as much as you can, but we don't have that. I don't see it, and I had learned a lot in the last couple of years to, reading people like yourself, that I had learned so much, and to all the friends, groups that we belong to, both of us, they're grieving and going to the same situation, and we got to realize there's a disease. Okay? People, kids, brothers, sisters, cousins, whatever, sometimes they go to this avenue, to this disease, because they need help. It's not because I choose to do that, okay? That's, whoever tells that's bullshit in my book, okay? They need help, and that's their escape. That make them feel better. It might, they might make them feel better that instant, but in the long run, is death. It's death. And we got people that getting rich off death. We got people.
Can I just?
Yeah.
Yeah, I just wanted to say, like, I've gone through it. We've gone through it over and over. We feel like we failed Nadia. We feel like the school failed her. We feel like the therapist, not knowing a lot about mental health, that failed her as well, because I think she should have been in some type of trauma therapy from all of the harassment that she received in school. And yes, it was trauma. It is trauma for a child to go into school every day and be picked on, not included, blown off. You're nobody. We don't want you here. They wanted our money. And so I feel the school failed her. The therapist failed her because the therapist should have recognized she was going through trauma. It wasn't her behavior. Yes, she had behavior issues because of it, but until you can get to the root cause of what was driving that. So that failed her. And she was in therapy since she was 14, and she did therapy through the intermediate unit when she was in the K through 8 program. And then, she got in, being an addiction, she got in trouble with the law, probably taking things to pawn or get however you get money. So she got into trouble, and a local police officer decided to make a deal with her and say, hey, why don't you be a CI, a confidential informant, and then you won't get charged with whatever it was at the time. And so here, this young lady, my daughter, Nadia Elizabeth, is now being asked to be a confidential informant as a person who is actively using, who is not capable of making healthy choices for herself and is a danger to herself and others. So this police officer perpetuated the situation and added to the situation. So there's another system. Then when she finally did get into treatment, it was brought to our attention by her boyfriend, he found a needle. He had proof, and we always felt like we needed that proof.
So when you said treatment, and that's actually where I was going to go with my next question. So there's some people who are going to watch this, right? Mm-hmm. And they're not going to have any knowledge or any experience, like I'm sure you didn't, as far as what that's like. That is correct. So when I know what it's like to go to treatment, right, for the first time.
Yes.
But I've never been on the other side as a parent. So when I say that, I want you to think back of like the day she was born and how happy you were, and all of her proudest moments as your child. And then you never think, fast forward 18 years, whatever it is, now you're dropping your daughter off at a treatment center. Explain that to the parents that are watching that. What is that like for a parent?
So my husband was away. He was traveling for business when we were finally able to have a successful intervention with her. And so leading up to it, her boyfriend told me that he had found, a needle and other things. And he helped me put a plan together. He called friends of his that he knew who went into treatment, and they gave us ideas of where to go and where not to go. For Nadia, since she was 26, she had aged out of our insurance, so she was on state insurance. Where she went, we took over $20,000 out of our 401k. So we made a couple calls, found the center that we thought was the best fit. They took a holistic approach. And I was a nervous wreck calling these centers on the phone. And I will say that whoever the people were at both locations that I called, they were wonderful. So caring, so understanding. They made me have a little bit of hope. They gave me a little hope. And they didn't make me feel like I was a lowlife of a mother. And unfortunately, that's what the stigma does. It makes you not open up to people. It makes you not talk to people. It makes you feel ashamed of something you shouldn't feel ashamed over. You cannot hide this from people.
Did you drop her off yourself?
No, her boyfriend took her at 2 a.m, and that was an ordeal in and of itself, getting her there. But we were just so thankful to finally get her there, And, come to find out, she was using heroin laced with fentanyl and crack cocaine. And so it was terrifying to me. I wish I would have understood earlier what these treatment centers could do for her, because I feel like if we could have helped convinced her, which we were really good at doing, to go to treatment much earlier in the process before she started using heroin. But she was taking pills. We knew we didn't ever have proof that she took pills, but that kind of came out. If before she made that leap to the heroin laced with fentanyl, maybe she could have had a chance, but I think she was just so sick. Here's the other thing that's important to know. I'm not trying to throw treatment centers under the bus. They're very important, and I do believe in the facility that my daughter went to. However, there are still issues, and they did great. They had a family education program. I went to the very first weekend after she was there. Got a lot of information then. Then I found a therapist for myself who actually, she does trauma therapy and has worked with a lot of mainly young girls who have been trafficked and sexually exploited and fallen into drugs. She knew who my daughter was, and she was the one person who taught me what this disease really was.
Yes.
And she told me the first time I met with her that if Nadia came home from treatment, there was a good chance that she would relapse and she could die. Nadia had been in treatment for 2.5 weeks at this point. Okay, so treatment inpatient is 30 days, right? So 2.5 weeks go by. I'm on the phone with the therapist saying, she can't come home. I just had a meeting with my therapist. She can't come home. She could relapse and die. And I was told that had to go through the outplacement coordinator. I can't remember the exact title. So that was not outplacement coordinator. After
Aftercare coordinator.
Aftercare
coordinator.
Yeah.
And so I'm sorry, I didn't call my therapist. Her therapist. I emailed her therapist with the information. Her therapist emailed me back, said it had to go through the aftercare coordinator. She copied the aftercare coordinator on the email. I followed up with a phone call to the aftercare coordinator, left her a message. I finally got a phone call back from that person the Friday before Nadia was to be discharged, which was the following Wednesday. So we had Friday, Saturday, well, that was Friday late in the day, so that was done Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, 4 days before she was coming home. And I know Nadia, I knew she was going to freak out because she has a son who was a baby at the time, and she wanted to be with him, and I knew she wanted to come home, but we kept saying, she can't because people, places, and things. She's going to be surrounded by all of her old people, places, and things, and this is not going to end well. We were warned, and we told them, but by them not responding in a timely fashion to us, that all fell apart. Nadia had a meltdown when we had a meeting with her on Monday. We had a phone meeting. My husband had just gotten home from Spain on that Saturday.
Yeah.
I got the phone call on Friday. You came home from Spain on Saturday.
And Monday
we had the conference call, and she lost it. She totally lost it. And now I know that was her start of her relapse right then and there, because all of the old behaviors and manipulation started coming out.
And what happened after that?
So what happened was we ended up having to have her come home because she concocted a story that she was going to go live with this friend in Phoenixville and go to treatment in Phoenixville, continue her treatment in Phoenixville. And this friend we had never heard of, and then it's a friend of a friend, so we call that friend, and that friend's never heard of it, so we knew it was a lie. I'm back on the phone with this facility saying she's lying, and this is Monday night. What are we going to do? So we had no choice at that point but to have her come home, and she continued her treatment at another local facility. She went into a partial hospitalization program, which is the next step down from inpatient. So 30 days inpatient. Her partial hospitalization was 5 days a week, 5 hours a day. And they picked her up, and they brought a van, picked her up, and took her there. And then things started sliding a little bit. And she wasn't going there. We thought she was there, but she wasn't. Because 2 blocks away from where this treatment facility is here in Pottstown was the kid that she first did heroin with, the first kid that injected her because she was afraid. And I was put down as her emergency contact there, and we had a meeting. We went in before she started the program. We had a meeting. So she came home on a Wednesday. The Thursday was Thanksgiving. She started the partial hospitalization program on Monday. We had our meeting with them on Friday. She started Monday.
Yep.
In the meantime, she was going to NA meetings every night until her program started, and she really wanted this. She was committed. She
was doing good.
She just was happy to be home. She wanted it, and we jumped on board, got behind her. We were her biggest cheerleaders. It just wasn't enough. And so she came home the day before Thanksgiving. She got kicked out of that program before Christmas. I don't know how much before Christmas. She had been kicked out for at least a week before I found out. And the only way I found out was I emailed them because she wasn't going back after Christmas. And I said, "Are you guys on break? How does this work?" And they said, "No, I thought the therapist would have let you know, on the emergency contact, I was supposed to be notified because they drug test them every day, supposedly." But she said they didn't get drug tested every day. Okay? So they weren't drug tested every day. And because she verbally told the therapist not to tell me that because they offered her to go back into inpatient, and she declined. And because she declined and she failed the drug test, she told them not to let us know. And because she told them that,
They didn't call us.
they didn't call us. And they're protected by HIPAA.
By the HIPAA law.
So what I don't understand is, how can you tell me, I'm taught this by the experts, that when you're actively using, you're not capable of making healthy choices for yourself. You're at danger to yourself and others. How is it that HIPAA can supersede that when a person is being declared not safe to their own self? Why couldn't they have just called me? It could have been their word against mine. Like, come on. The fentanyl is on the streets. There's no hope with the fentanyl on the streets. There's no hope that I see. I want hope, but the fentanyl is so deadly. It takes the tiniest bit, and it will take you down just like that, and you're gone. And that's what happened.